Then you start going step by step, earning your way to prison. And they were saying that, well, what are one of your addictions? I told them violence was an addiction. Some of the things that I went through, I don't want the other person to have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's about trying to create a pathway for the next person.
Yo, welcome back to Reentry Network Podcast. It's your boy Yak.
It's your boy T.
We got another show for y'all today, man.
Another
It's a
good
good one. Yo, this one's intense because this is someone that went through our program. We knew he had a story. We knew he was formerly incarcerated, not even formerly, sort of still in the process of something like that. And we'll touch on that. But we didn't know the crazy story that there was behind it. And the experience. You know, a lot of individuals we get, they're youngsters.
And I would say the journey.
Yeah,
right?
the journey
behind
yeah,
it
heck
as
yeah.
well.
So with that being said, bro, let's introduce our boy Jesse Pitts, man. Thank you so much
Let's
for being
get
here.
it.
Man, you're busy, bro. It would take us so long to get you.
Yeah, how many weeks has it been now? 2, 3?
Something like that.
Yeah, we're trying
like
to
that.
plan it out. But you know what? I think what's really great is you being at PV Jobs, because you're here a lot of times. You're able to touch with some of the youngsters and, you know, get connected with them and speak to them. And I've seen that work already, even with the little kids, man. Like, you know, it's great. And I'm hoping with today's podcast, you can do some of that work through the lens, right? But with that being said, I want to touch a little bit about, you know, your come up and where you grew up, because you have a very interesting story. At a young age, you were already in the projects, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
Well, I grew up in Boyle Heights, California. Born at White Memorial Hospital, 2 blocks away from Aliso Village Housing Projects. A long time ago,
What more or less? What years was this?
1970.
70s. Huh?
Yeah, 1970.
They still had like those like the bomb cars, those old school cars and all that. I know it was phasing out, but
No,
they already had DeLoreans and shit. But
no,
DeLoreans.
That was the 80s.
that was 80s.
That was
Okay.
the
Yeah, you didn't even have that yet.
Yeah.
What was it like? Because even me now, like obviously I don't know that era, but when I hear in the projects, I think of a very dangerous lifestyle or a very dangerous environment. But I think when we talked before, he said it wasn't like that. It was a very calm and collected location. Would you say?
It was a unit. It was Aliso Village. We had everybody in there. It wasn't the white people except for like one person.
Mm-hmm.
But we had, one side had some Bloods at first. Then you had Hispanic gangs, and then you had the black gangs. But everybody grew up together as kids. We played marbles. We stole out the liquor stores, and rode bikes, and tried to be Evel Knievel together.
Yeah.
Jumping over tables, flip your tables upside down in the school ground and make a rap and watch somebody fall on top of it get messed up.
You did talk about when we talked earlier. You talked about like your experience at a young age. You were already participating in some of these activities like stealing, robbing. Right? You did mention that.
Stealing, yeah, I stole at a young age.
This was what, 7 years old?
Something like that. When the bicentennial dollars or quarters, one of them came out, I think it was $1, silver dollar in '77. We used to go and get them out the wishing well off Abbott Street.
The wishing well.
Yeah, sometimes we put our snorkel and goggles on. Military dudes be flipping them in there, and we be scooping them out.
Coming out with like a chest of gold or something, huh?
Oh my God! Wait, you're
nuts.
talking about the little things you roll the quarter in and then it goes in and it.
Like kind of like a fountain, basically,
fountain,
where you
a
toss the
wishing
quarters.
well.
Oh,
in
wishing
there.
well.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. So you guys, but why would you?
You
Why
gotta
would you
remember,
have
Jesse,
to?
the kids, you know, they don't play in the street no more. They don't
Yeah.
come out. They don't.
I'm curious, but tell me. I don't know if this is a dumb question, but if you were doing that, you were getting stuff, I guess, from the wishing well. Why did you have to really hide yourself? Like, was it considered stealing? Like, was it a big problem?
No, because if they stopped the train by the projects and one person went and got something off a train, everybody cleaned the whole train out of there. There would be nothing left. Bikes, that's how we got our first swing bikes in the '70s. Alloys.
Got you.
You guys would do the trains, like train heists, basically.
No, they'd park them there.
Oh,
Yeah, and you guys were a group of just kids growing up, mischievous kids, just
where you
getting
go,
into little activities.
Searching around, something to
Yeah.
do. You go to train tracks, play with BB guns, and catch a bunch of bugs and stuff, and Look up, it's a train sitting there open with bikes, and one person get 1 or 2, and everybody else come back and clean it out.
I see.
At that time, was there like more open area, or was everything already big buildings everywhere? It was, because I feel like now you can't imagine kids just playing through some dirt nowadays. You know?
We had dirt.
Okay.
I stayed on a dirt road in the projects. It was
See
the
what I'm saying?
last
That's
one.
nuts.
It was the last road in Aliso that had dirt on it. They came and covered that up about 82, 83.
That is such a different, like, it's still, like I'm saying, it's a different environment nowadays. Even projects, for instance, like Jordan Downs, for one, like that place looks beautiful now. It's not no dirt roads, it's nothing like that. They're nice central AC locations, like they're beautiful. So it's interesting to hear you talk about it in that as perspective. So at a young age, what kind of other stuff were you dealing with other than having to provide for yourself? I guess mental health wise, or even like food wise. What was that experience like for you?
We always had providers. That was the thing
Moms and
about-
pops?
Yes.
Okay.
Stepfather, next door neighbors. It used to be barbecues. Everybody put the music out, and everybody ate. It was.
It's like it takes
A
a
good
village type of
community,
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get in trouble on the other side of the projects, they're gonna call over your house and they're gonna whoop you. Your mother catch us over here, she gonna get you and she gonna call. It's gonna make it all the way to your house.
You're at a young age. You talked about too that you had a lot of uncles and family members who were affiliated already, right? So you were really surrounded by them as well. Did you feel like you adopted some of their traits or some of their lifestyles?
Yes, I did. Like when I went to parole board, they asked me when was my first contact with authorities. I told them I think it was like I was 2 years old.
Damn.
I say my uncle tried to put something in my drawers, my diaper.
Really?
And I ran from them. They said, "Why you run?" Because all my favorite uncles leave when them people come. I didn't know who they were then. Well, I know my favorite uncles always went to jail.
That's deep, bro. Like the fact that like fundamentally that's where this stuff comes from and where it's embedded, you know what I mean? Where you're just kind of like that's the way you're growing up. You know, those people. That was the beginning of it, you know, where you started attaching those ideas to those.
Started learning what belief patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah, because their thoughts shouldn't be his thoughts or her thoughts, but they teach it to you, and they show you it. They show you by hand, you know. So I went through a lot of things that they went through because of a lot of choices I made. Instead of going to get a job, I went and got a bag. Go get a bag of weed on Pico way back in the days for $10. Roll up 70 joints out of it and go sell them in school.
That was what, like, how old were you doing something like that?
Junior high, 7th grade.
Junior high.
Junior high, 7th grade. Was your mom and your dad, so they were they on you like that? Or they were just like, my boy's just out doing what, it was a community. If they're not watching you, they just, neighbors on you, somebody's on you.
Yeah, there's always somebody watching.
Right.
Because we played outside. We had like after school programs where they pull the Karens out of the elementary school. Everybody go up there, go play basketball, kickball, football. And we had dudes that actually organized sports teams for us. We had all the kids, and we get out there, we play football on we called it the big line, but it was the grass area by the Utah Street School, the big grass spot. It only had a few sprinklers in it. So you didn't get messed up that bad, because it might have been maybe 10 sprinklers in the field. So you're playing football and somebody tackled you, you might run your head into a sprinkler, which happened to a few people. But other than that, it was football in front of the apartments, and the bushes and the wall was out of bounds on this side, and the cars and the street was out of bounds on that side.
Not a legit field that we see nowadays, like with the turf and all that. It's very different. My question with that, my question kind of go back to your family. What did you see, or what did you adopt from your uncles and those family members, like into your lifestyle specifically, like, or how did you look up to them if you did?
They was able to give me video games, pinball machines, air hockey tables. I ended up with a game room because everything they liked I loved, so they put it in the room. reel-to-reels, and it was enjoyable. But when I look at it now, I understand all the stuff that they went through because I went through the system too. But it was like in, out. And back then, they was giving them like 1 to 7 years in prison. So you could get out in 1 year, or you could do all 7 because everybody went to the parole board.
Gotcha.
So everybody was basically coming home no matter what, for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody, but for the most part.
Unless you kidnap somebody, you kill somebody.
So growing up like that, right? It sounded like at that time, you guys were just groups of kids playing around, doing what you do. That happens everywhere, and any urban spot is gonna happen, right? Cops and robbers, ice cream trucks, all that. At what age do you think that started? I guess developing into the hood activities, into all that, because it sounded like you jumped off the porch young,
But as far as being in the hood, participate, it was more of we was friends first.
That's what I'm saying.
We was friends in
okay,
kindergarten.
got you.
We went to elementary schools together. When they started busing kids out the inner city, we all went to Satakoy Elementary, got kicked out of there. Then we went to Palisades Elementary, got kicked out of there.
Palisades, that's quite a distance from East LA, right?
We just had to get up like 5 in the morning to go to school. So we learned how not to get that school bus. Be late, you'd have to go to school.
When did you start repping like a specific gang or hood at a young age off the bat, or no?
It was more of a Liso. Everybody in Liso
That community.
represented Liso.
Gotcha.
Then you had everybody in their little corners, which was like we played football against this side, that side, this side. It was more of a community.
So there was no internal beef ever in that area, that community. Not yet at this point, though.
You had
right?
things that happened.
Okay.
People would get killed because they done something. You know, they didn't rob somebody and came back and killed them.
Got you.
What was like? At what age did you first see someone get hurt, whether it's death or stabbed or shot? What was the first time you saw?
I was in elementary school. It was common because, like I was telling the youngster earlier, that they didn't have no 911. So if somebody got
That's
shot,
nuts.
you end up getting stuck to the concrete. If you get shot like 10 o'clock at night, 7, 8 in the morning when everybody walking to school, they going to see them shovel you off because the blood had coagulated and now you're stuck.
What?
You had to dial 0 first, get the operator. Then you had to get the ambulance number from the operator. Then you had to call the ambulance place.
That's
I didn't know
nuts.
that.
I didn't know that either. I was 911. I assumed 911 was always a thing.
So your first time you saw something like that was elementary. Was you going to school, like walking to school, or
Right in the backyard.
your backyard?
Right in the backyard.
What'd you think when, or what was it? Was it like shot, stab? Like,
Shot.
what was your thoughts when you saw that?
It just woo. It was just that's messed up. He dead, you know. But it was violence was normal because people got respect through violence. It was a force of fear. You know. Then you had people that have respect for working. So I got to see both sides. I got to see my stepfather being a trash man, bring home like $1,700 every other week.
It's hella good money at the time.
Right, especially at that time.
And then I got to see people go out and shoot dice. And in 5 hours, they done went and bought a new car.
Crazy.
So you end up gravitating more towards that?
Yes.
Yeah. So growing up in that environment, you seems like you adapted and you just roll with the punches. Did that lead you to any type of incarceration before the big one, before you getting your big sentence?
They got me arrested. I got arrested, but they were not really tripping. Then the police, they'll pick you up and take you home, drop you off. Do y'all want him? They say no, you go juvenile hall. They say yeah, they let you go.
So you would show up just fingers crossed, hoping mom says, yeah, go ahead, leave him, or
I'm going to my grandmother's house.
I'm going to grandma's.
Yeah,
Huh?
I'm going to my grandmother's house because she go open the door for me.
So I guess with moms and grandma too, because grandma was what, right across the street, you said, something like that?
Yes, he did.
They grew up with this violence around them. So if you ever got in fights and things like that, to them it's like it wasn't as bad. Like it wasn't that bad. It was like, did you win type thing? Or how would they take that in?
A lot of times they came out to help.
No way.
They would come out to help. That was the thing in the projects in Boyle Heights. It was inside, we could fight with each other all day long. But anybody else
Elsewhere.
couldn't come in. It didn't matter what race you was. You couldn't come in tripping on nobody. Or everybody's going to run you out.
I get it. With that many units in such a small little spot, everybody knows everybody. You guys literally see each other every day. You grow up together. Yeah. That's your community. That's what it is. You know.
Yes, it is.
That's what it is.
So now you're in elementary school. You start seeing all this activity, right? You start seeing it more. Like even your friends are participating in stuff that, who knows, could be like our craziest stuff, right? What exposure did you start getting at that age? Like now you're what, 12, 13 years old. What kind of exposure did you get to that lifestyle?
Well, we started gambling early, like flipping quarters closest to the wall.
Quarters,
whoever get closest to the wall win the quarter. Or you take your dollar and you throw it up in the air, and he called heads or tails. Whoever loses, lose a buck. But it was it's more of getting out of elementary school, going to junior high school, where you get that freedom, and you get to start figuring out where you're gonna do, what you're gonna do with yourself, because you don't know what you want to do. It's in 7th grade, because junior high school started in 7th grade back then. It wasn't in 6th grade.
True. Yeah.
So it was going to school, and now you got all these different crowds up in there. You got the ones that drink, smoke weed. Then you had, like at Hollenbeck, they had one class for girls with babies in 7th grade.
7th grade?
What?
Yeah.
How old do you got to be in 7th grade? Like 12, 13 or
12.
something like that?
Yeah,
I mean, it is what it is. That's nuts. I get it, you know, but damn, that's
young as hell.
You know?
But that comes from seeing that stuff. Once you see things, it becomes normal.
Right.
Because, you know, you got older dudes like the younger girls. The older women like the younger guys.
What kind of like kid were you? Like were you a curious kid? Were you a very short-tempered kid? Like what were you like coming up?
I played a lot of sports. I was curious about electronics because I had started using computers in like 78, 79.
Which when they were fairly coming out, right? That's like when they were fairly fresh, no? Or were they already?
They was out already, but they was just coming to the public.
Gotcha.
But there was no hard drive, no floppy drive, no memory on them.
Crazy how you ask anybody nowadays a floppy disk, they would not know.
Yeah.
Mind you, for PV jobs, they test us on that, like computer. I remember they showed me what a floppy disk was. I was like, I knew what it was, but it's crazy to even ask this question because that just shows how old the test is. Like, you know, the computer test. All right. Well, other than that,
Asking for a floppy disk.
right. So now I'm pretty sure going into high school now, were you ever getting incarcerated? Like even in middle school, like were you ever or junior high school?
Go in, get out. Go in, get out.
Okay,
Because
but
juvenile hall, it was, if somebody came and got you, you could come home.
right. Oh, right. You did mention that.
Yes.
Now, when you start going, what about into high school? Like, what kind of activities were you doing now going into high school? 'Cause you're older now. You're more of that, like, you know, mature level.
I got kicked out of high school for direct sales, powder cocaine.
Wow.
Inside the high school?
You sold it to undercover.
In the high school, there's
Undercover
undercovers.
in the high school.
Yes.
Is this that same high school with the pregnant girls?
No, I'm talking about Roosevelt High School.
Okay, got you.
I called
Roosevelt.
direct sales at Roosevelt, 88.
What kind of
Roosevelt
stuff?
High School. My fault. Is stand and deliver? Or am I tripping? That's
that was
Garfield.
Garfield.
Okay, got you.
That's the Bulldogs.
What kind
Rival high schools or something?
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
what kind of stuff were you pushing then? So you said cocaine. What kind of stuff did you push in the past?
We had some of everything. PCP, we had heroin, we had rocks, we had basically whatever you wanted. Whatever you
Gotcha.
wanted. And we drove Cadillacs to school. Everybody had cars in high school.
Nah, no way.
Everybody had cars. But cars was cheap then, though. You get a Chevy for $900.
That is nuts to hear that, bro.
And then,
Cadillac for
the
$900.
dope dealers were making real money back in the day. People don't understand. You don't make money like that no more. But right back in the day, you were able to do that, buy a car off it. Again, it always led you to incarceration, right? So it doesn't matter. But
they didn't last.
they didn't last
6 months.
Right? Yeah.
Either you got shot up or it got stolen.
True.
I can
Would've got
imagine
another one.
80s, wild time, huh?
Yeah, it was wild.
What were you doing with your money?
Buying DJ equipment.
What?
I didn't know that.
I used
That's
to throw
nuts.
parties. I used to DJ parties.
You were that guy.
I used to DJ parties. Yes.
What were your go-to tracks? Like, what were you playing? Did you do the at the
Record
time you
spin
still had the
tables?
spin tables, right?
Turntables.
Turntables.
1200.
The turntable,
No
1200.
more
Look at him.
1200s. I'm trying to find me some now.
What was that like? So now, because that is interesting, because now you're in a space at these parties where you're in a very active spot. These parties can be very active. What kind of experiences do you have as a DJ? You're more of a witness, a perspective there. You're not really participating in the party. You're running it.
Yeah.
What was
I
that
the
like
party.
for you? Like being
were
at
the
these-
party. I
I
like
was
that.
the party.
Yeah.
I was the party. They're ready for me to do what now. But it was enjoyable because back then in junior high school, most people was doing parties.
Crazy.
So we had parties, and they had like junior high school, they had the girls, they had the dance crew girls. So every 20 or 30 of them, you put like 10 of the crews on the flyers, pass them out in the school, and all the dudes finna come pay to get in.
I forget. That's
a
how it
good
used to
little
be.
scheme. Yeah, good
Yeah.
little plan. Shit, I mean, hey.
Were there any like crazy instances where you were at a party and like some intense situation happens?
Oh yeah, we was at, I think this is about maybe 85, I think. We was at the Broadway Plaza. They had the Hyatt Hotel, and we had a party down there. It was a battle with the DJs, the West Coast versus the East Coast. So
Hey,
all
man.
of them flew out here, and we was down there. Then all hell broke loose.
Man.
What happened?
While you had all your equipment up there and everything
I used to leave my equipment all the time.
at these spots? And
Yes,
just
I-
what? Had to re-up on some more turntables or
No,
something?
go get it out there and pound.
Damn, like
Oh.
that.
Go get it out there and pound, because there's guns in the party, there's drugs in the party. When the police come, everybody start throwing them, or either somebody gonna do something, gonna shoot at them. So everything gets left.
So you pull up to the impound and be like, I need to get my DJ set.
Yes, it's like your car. Impounds were cheap then. It was $6 a day.
Yeah, they're
that's
expensive
love,
now.
And you was able to get it out, follow the tow truck there and get it out.
Okay, so what happened at this party though, with this West Coast, East Coast thing? What
It
happened?
was a big old battle royal up in there. And we had the upper hand because we know Los Angeles.
Mm.
So when they was supposed to stay in the hotel, but we chased them out the door. And it used to be like that at the concerts too, though. Like the Run DMC, the Beastie Boys, Curtis Blow concerts. Then you used to have the MacArthur Park, especially in the '70s. MacArthur Park used to have the good concerts.
Like right in the middle of MacArthur, huh?
Yes, right there by the lake. All the music out there. I was up there one time in the '70s with my father, and it was a dude came up there with Doberman pinchers.
I love those
He was on
dogs.
the angel dust though. This when they was putting the spikes on him, and he let them go in the crowd.
What happened
Spook
after
everybody.
that?
Everybody started booking. Well, that dog is beast.
Is
It's
it?
Two of
beastly
them.
looking, yeah.
There's two of them.
And then with the spike collar and everything, they look like some, yard dogs. Like they're out there.
And it was right after the Doberman gang movie came out.
So, all right. So I had no idea you were a DJ. That's pretty dope though, because I was
This
a DJ
guy
at a young
DJs,
age
yeah, I
too.
was one- yeah.
Okay, now you start. There's a lot of activity going on. You stayed in Aliso your whole. It was Aliso, right? I'm saying right.
Yes.
You stayed in Aliso like even throughout your whole come up, like even till like 18, or did you move out before that?
I got evicted.
You got
My
evicted.
family got evicted because I caught a direct sale.
Oh, so after that instance, you got in trouble.
Yes,
that.
I caught a direct sale. And back then, you tell them I was using dope. You go to therapy. 6 months later, it's off your file.
Damn. Just like that. Nowadays, they don't let anything out. nothing just go loose like that.
No, you catch a dope case, but they could tell. Now they could tell because if you using drugs now, you ain't gonna have no guns or nothing on you.
So with that, then now you get evicted. Where do you guys go from there? Because that's all you knew. At least it was all you knew, right? Technically.
No, my mother had moved out.
Okay.
My mother moved out in 1983 to a house off of Hickory. They had Bloods over there. Nine Deuce Bishops was over there.
So where'd you go when you guys did get evicted?
Shit. I stayed on the east side, 107th Avalon.
But I'm sure since that was like your local neighborhood, you probably always just end up going back to the projects anyways.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah. So okay, so growing up like that, so one thing that we know, so we'll throw it out there. You did close to 30 years, if not the whole 30, right?
29 years.
So that's why we're trying to paint a picture to like the lead up to that, right? So at this point, you're what, like 18, 19? Because you mentioned high school was cool. You're still DJing. You're doing your thing. You're getting into a lot of these activities that happen as a result of just being part of the community. But then eventually shit happens, and then you end up catching your own case, right?
Yes.
You want to touch on that and kind of give us the lead up to that, and just maybe however you want to express that, and then because that's a sentence that we don't run into too often.
All right, like leading up to that, I was in the county jail, out the county jail, because they had passed a trespassing law. And one day they took me to jail at a public phone booth, using public telephone on a public street. I told the judge, I'm on public. It says public right there. I put my 20 cents in the phone. I made a phone call. I didn't get caught with nothing. I had nothing. I didn't run for the police. The judge said they just don't want you in there no more. So
In the projects.
yes.
So there's straight up like no loitering, that was like the beginning probably of gang injunctions and no hanging out. So people across Los Angeles were getting violated, stereotyped, put in groups, and they were getting all busted. They were sweeping people off the streets, you know?
Every Tuesday and Thursdays at 7 o'clock, crash came through L.A.
Man. And this is just stuff this is before my time. I used to read this stuff in college. A lot of the shit that I used to write about was, prison reform, growing up in these communities, hyper policing, all that stuff. So I used to read about it, and it's crazy meeting somebody that actually went through it, you know?
But now I look at it, we were 14, 15, 16-year-olds driving around in cars that were worth more than what the officer made in a year.
Man.
True.
Then when they ask you how you get this, my friend won the lottery. It was a gift.
That's what you would say.
That's what, you tell them something slick.
Yeah. At the time, I'm sure they didn't. Okay, you know what? I always tripped out. What was the deal with fingerprinting? Was that a thing? You could use different names at that time, no?
Yes.
And like you would be cool as long as you had a go-to name and you could get away. They weren't really fingerprinting people.
You just had to bail out.
Just had to bail out.
Yeah, you had to bail out. But eventually, all the names that you use belong to you.
Got you.
They use name 1, name 2, name 3. Because I used a few names. I was Jesse Lee. I was Jesse Dubois.
Dubois.
That's my stepfather's last name.
Dubois.
Yeah, so I had my first son. I gave him that last name because he had died, and I wanted to give my son a chance at something different, because my father didn't mind going to prison. Then looked up, I didn't mind going to prison, so it's something that had to give.
100%.
That's intense. Wait, so you said when who passed?
My stepfather passed away about 84, 83, 84. So I gave my first son his last name.
His last name.
Yes.
To give him something different, so that means that your step-pops was something, he was impactful in your life and probably dropped some gems on you, guided you.
Yeah, he had me in sports. He was in the military, like, I think it was 82, 83. I was going to Hollenbeck Junior High School. You had to take an elective.
Okay, yeah.
A foreign language. You had to take a foreign language class. So I took French.
Hey,
Because I knew he knew German. I knew he knew a bunch of other languages from the military. I got home and I ended up getting a C in that class, even though I didn't want it. I didn't want it.
It's nuts.
Because when you went to school way back then, it was if you showed up at least once that year, they passed you through.
Damn.
So it's safe to say the school system, they varied, huh?
Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah.
You just showed up, you got a DUU at the end of the semester.
Damn, that's some shit, man. You know, I'm thinking about take us back real quick to this whole to you standing around loitering, the phone thing that just popped into my head.
Yes.
I wanna.
Yeah,
What ended up happening with that?
I stayed in the county jail for about 2 or 3 days till I went to court. Did the judge dismiss it?
For loitering.
Yes. But that was the way that the authorities were able to violate you if you was on parole or probation. Because anytime you came in contact with them, you was good for a year if you was on parole. A year straight.
Got you.
And you didn't have to be doing nothing.
Yeah, it was just whatever the hell they felt like that's what was happening.
Yeah.
So was that the first incident that kind of was leading up to what was gonna eventually become, you know, your biggest?
Your stretch.
No. They had raided my house one time, got 13 automatics out of there. But
13 automatics?
Yeah, that was June the 10th, 1988. That was right after I caught the direct sale in school.
You're how old at that age?
Going on 18.
So the automatics, like that was all your work, or is it somebody else's work that was just holding it at your pad?
No, everybody had guns. Because we was kids. We was
I mean,
kids and we got
17,
hold
yeah.
to money. So you had your lowrider, your cars, you had your guns, you had everything that you thought you needed, except for actually having some peace.
That
Peace.
Yeah, because they kept kicking the door in. They kicked the door in. They had a warrant for drugs. They didn't get no drugs. They got 13 guns and a scale, triple beam scale.
Which was sus? Like that's having that is like suspicious?
That sells. That's
That
drug
scale.
deal, not a drug user.
No, that was the way my grandmother food because she was a diabetic.
Absolutely, I'm with you.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's
Yeah,
just
because
like
I
it's a
learned,
scale.
I learned from some of the best of them, you know.
So at the time though,
Right.
like I'm imagining like I mean some shit like that now would lead somebody to a infinite sentence. You know what I mean? And like they're never getting out for some shit like that. But at the time, I guess they were barely starting to become cracked down on stuff like that. So there wasn't like crazy laws established around it yet.
No, it was
Right.
It was a revolving door. You go in, you come
Just
out.
fucking back and forth, huh?
Go in, you come out.
Man,
Yeah, dudes do 20, 30 years on parole.
in increments.
Yeah,
Little
because you get
separate
one
stints, huh?
violation, you start it over again.
30 years on parole. That's nuts, bro.
That's how you still got dudes that have A numbers and B numbers, C numbers, all the way up to the E's. That's still in jail.
That's a cold
But
shot.
it was,
So now you got caught. Now they raided you. Now where did they take you from there when they raided you?
East Lake Juvenile Hall.
Because you were
East
still
Lake.
17, huh?
Yeah.
So what age were you when you caught the big sentence, the 36 to life year sentence, I believe, right?
Yes, I was 21.
So you didn't even last 2 years. So that wasn't even enough. You didn't learn the lesson.
Right.
No, I was back to back, going in, going out.
Okay.
For
What
some-
about being 18 and going to the county? Now being there with grown men, because eventually I'm sure you led to the county once or twice.
It wasn't rough on me. It was because of the things I was doing in the streets. It was like, that was my homeboy, you know.
You knew people as you went in.
Yes, you know, they were my friends. you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
They were my friends, so I was embraced when I got there.
So eventually you sort of kept up that lifestyle, and that eventually led you to a life sentence. Okay. So you kind of you gave us kind of like the lead up to it, right? You got busted a couple times. And again, you were just cultured growing up in that environment, in that lifestyle. And again, it was normal at the time, right? You don't realize these things till after that, hey, maybe that shit wasn't normal, you know? But that eventually led you to a situation where you end up catching a 36-year life sentence.
Yes.
Can you walk us through that? Maybe the lead up to it. If you don't want to touch on it, you don't have to do that. And then, you know, kind of what that whole thing entailed.
All right,
That's huge, man.
We were hanging out. It was when my co-defendant's birthday. We were drinking, smoking weed and shit, and Mr. Johnson came around the corner, and then he started getting punched on. He started to get stumped on. It lasted about 3 hours, they say.
So just whatever was happening
violence.
was happening.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It lasted about 3 hours, and you know it was a really bad thing, but at that time, people don't tend to stand up to stop something. So you know he got beat really bad. Yeah. Then police showed up. Everybody scurried away.
You guys were deep? You don't have to say how many, but just...
It started off like maybe about 10 people was there, 10, 11
Damn,
people.
so that's a long time for that guy or whatever
They
the
were all
situation.
participating in this.
Somewhere. Then I got arrested. It was about 1, 2 in the morning, January 3rd.
What year was this?
January 3rd of 1992.
1992, huh?
Yeah.
Shit. Some people weren't even in this room, weren't even born then, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, my youngest son was in the stomach then. And he's, what? I think he'll be 31 this year.
Got you. And how old were you at the time? You were 21, 22?
21.
21.
Going on 22. And then came the adventures in the county jail. They charged me, and I got arraigned, and my max was a death penalty plus 5 years. I used to try to figure out how I was going to do that 5 years. You know, I couldn't figure that one out. If y'all going to kill me, how I'm going to do that 5?
Not understanding what the first number was.
Yeah.
Like that was the 5 was the least of your worries.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about that one. It was that death penalty. I go to court. The judge say, "Well, are y'all ready?" I say, "What's going on?" And the judge said, "We still at death penalty plus 5 years." I say, "Can I come back in 3 months? I don't need to be wasting my time coming here then, because there is not a defense for it, you know." So it was that venture in the county jail. It was riots, a lot of gambling. It was riots down there. There was riots with the police down there because we were walking the child in. So if the police stopped somebody, the whole line would stop. You know, it just wasn't. They couldn't just single you out or single me out. Everybody would stop and wait.
Okay, so at this time, the inmate still kind of had the control over the...
Yes.
Because, you know, there was a time where the steroid police officers were beating the crap out of anybody in there, so...
Yeah, they had to
at the
come
time,
get you.
okay.
They had to come get you late at night when you was locked in your cell. But most of the time, you wasn't in your cell because you was running around in the county jail because it was open 24 hours a day. So you go from one floor to the other floor, gamble on this floor, go over here, 9,500, see if there was anybody up there that brought some drugs in or some extra money that they didn't need, and figure out how you're going to take it from them.
Damn, so in 92, it was just wild, huh?
Yeah, 91, 90. I kept going back in for nonsense, but all the nonsense ended up becoming something.
Yeah.
And that something turned into a 36 life sentence.
So as you're fighting your case, maybe touch on what was the lead up to you getting sentenced? When did you know that you weren't gonna come home and that this is it? I'm gonna be done for a little bit.
When they found me guilty.
Yeah.
August 22nd, 2 days from my birthday, 1994. They found me guilty.
Well, the first, so you told me they gave you death penalty at first.
No, that's what the
Charge.
district attorney wanted to give me. Death penalty plus 5. They wanted to give my co-defendant death penalty plus 3. The other one death penalty +2, and the other one death penalty +1.
Now that time, like death penalty was like a really, was it a big thing?
Good
or no?
question. Were they really giving you the death penalty? You know,
Right.
now they have it, but they don't really.
No, they was executing people then.
They were execute. There you go.
Yeah, they
Oh
had
man.
the lethal injection back then.
What were you thinking then when you first heard that? Because for sure, like I would jump straight to, oh fuck, like this is it.
I did what was normal. I ran around the county jail robbing people.
Thinking it was
Getting
it.
your anger off. Yeah, getting the.
Yes, it was just normal. Gamble and do everything that we did on the streets was inside the county jail. It was selling the drugs. It was everything. Everything was in there.
So they get you. You're guilty now. What happens after that?
When I got found guilty, I was in the Crip marching. And we were having, when I was in trial almost 2.5 months. And we was having a lot of problems with the officers because they was trying to stop people walking the child. And then one day, it was a guy that was 17 in there with us.
Oh man.
So they snatched him out when they found out how old he was, and he took off on them, and everybody else did too. So we had a big old battle royal in front of 3,200 on 3,000 floor with the officers.
Deep, just a big old little melee, huh?
Yep.
Grenades and pepper spray.
No, it was a fist fight.
But with the
officers.
officers?
Yeah.
Okay. So
They had to defend themselves. They had billy clubs.
Okay.
Some people had weapons, and it didn't turn out good for us. We got introduced to pepper spray.
Correct.
They used to spread down the pipe chase on us in the middle of the night. So you laying there, that's what you breathe. We went to court. It used to be a room maybe half the size of this, might have about 20, 30 people in it. And once somebody started fighting, they open the door, shoot 2 cans of pepper spray up in there, put a towel down there at the bottom so it stays in there.
Like
And they don't
that.
care that that's not gonna hit just those two. It's gonna hit everybody. They're like,
Yeah,
all you guys are gonna get it.
Yeah, so it was a long road.
How'd you feel, man, going through shit like that, knowing that you're fighting this big ass sentence and you're going through, you know,
I wasn't feeling.
man.
I wasn't feeling because it was. I'm on my way to prison, and I got to figure out how to get out. But then wasn't nobody going home. When I got to New Folsom, first guy I met, he asked me, he said, "Youngster, how much time you got?" I said, "I got 36 to life." He said, "Welcome to the club." He said, I said, "How much time you got?" He said, "I got 5 to life, 7. He said, I said, "How long you been in jail?" He said, "Since 1972. This is 1995. He said, "Man, I came back from the Vietnam War, and I've been here ever since. Killed somebody at the airport or something." I was like, "Shit, I'm on the pill." He said, "I'm on the pill too." I said, it was all in then, all in, because if they haven't let him go and all the other dudes, older dudes go, how am I gonna go? So it was go out to the yard with the homies, go hang out.
What do you think is what gave you the strength to put up with that right there and then? Because that seems overwhelming as hell to have to be hit with that realization at that moment. On a level 4, New Folsom, you just talked to a new lifer. He's telling you ain't going home because I ain't going. Look at me. I've been here 20 and I still ain't home. And
I was among my friends, my homeboys, and we was all in the gang modules together. They had got life sentences. Because it was like murder charges was sending you to prison. You know, if you killed another gang member, it was like you might better get a manslaughter.
is that right? Okay.
You know,
Man.
'Cause I know one guy, he had 2 murders and an attempt. He came out with 18 years with half. But he ended up getting out and getting killed though.
You know,
And that's the faith of it sometimes. Dead, jail, or, so.
one thing I noticed right now is you don't have any tats, unless
There's a
they're not
couple of 'em.
visible.
They old.
They're gone.
No, they old. They old.
Nah, my boy got a couple.
Where?
They old. You can't really see them no more.
Oh, which is good. I mean, I guess they went away. I only asked because a lot of times, like, you affiliate yourself like that too. Like, that's how you represent.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
And so when you're, and I'm thinking like when you're locked up, you were probably exposed to all that, so people knew where you're from, etc. But, what is like one war story that you have, or was there what kind of changed your mindset when you were incarcerated? Now, like, was it a war story or was it an experience you had, where you kind of started changing your point of view on things?
As far as staying in or
As
trying to get out.
while you're in. I don't know. Maybe you can kind of define that too. Like,
Because at first, the first 24, 25 years, it was everything I did was keeping me there. And then, matter of fact, it was my son, my oldest son told me, and when I turned 41 years old, he said, "Happy birthday, Pops. You in there with that bullshit. You need to get up out of there."
That'll do that to you, man. Yeah.
But it took almost 8-10 years for it to kick in.
And if I'm not mistaken, you said you did all level 4 time, pretty much, no?
Back up, down.
All those years, the beginning years, right?
Fours, yeah. First, I guess, maybe first 10, 15 years up and down. Level
Oh,
4,
okay.
level 3, level 4. Every time something happened, they kick you out and send you back up. Yeah, it was some gruesome riots up in there too.
so now that message hits you. What next steps do you take from there?
I kind of ignored it for the first few years
Mm-hmm.
until I was about 6 years. It really set in.
So this is what, like 98?
No, this
99?
this is 2017.
Wow.
When it barely sinks in, like, hey, I'm really right. I've been here 20-something.
Yeah, listen to my son saying that they knew me out
that
here.
was it, huh?
So he told me I was 41 and I was going on 47 when it kicked in. And I had to kind of get rid of all the things that made me comfortable in prison. You know, it was telephones, weed, tobacco, alcohol, having a bunch of food in your cell. So I had to let all that stuff go and figure out how to go home. Because if I get comfortable in prison, that means I'm gonna be here. And I was comfortable for 20 plus years.
During those 20-something, you never, like, since you were comfortable, you never had a desire to put in any motions or try to get bound to court again, superior, or, anything like that?
I was constantly filing paperwork.
You were filing paperwork during this
Yes,
whole
I
time. though.
constantly did it.
So, okay.
My first direct appeal was denied by California courts 1996.
So not that long from the day you got sentenced, pretty much, right? You were already putting in work to try to get those.
They give you an attorney, but then once you get out of certain courts, you have to do your own paperwork. So you have to start connecting with people that's going to show you how to do the law work. Like if you pay somebody, I hope they know what they're doing.
Right.
So it was, and after 96, it was more just floating around prison existing. I just existed in there for a long time.
What about self-help groups, college, anything, any of that going on at that time?
Yeah, I was teaching computer repair in New Folsom.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
So you really were into computers then?
Yeah, I taught people how to refurbish them, build them, strip them down, upgrade them, clean the printers,
No way.
everything, and we boxed them up and sent them to public schools up in Sacramento.
That's
nice.
fire. I didn't know
That's
they had
nice.
programs like that. I wish they still. Do you think they still have those type of programs?
Well,
Oh, they got PIA, you know what I mean? But we need something like that. That sounds amazing.
That was a trade, but everything had pay numbers in it. I was making like $46 in the trade.
A month though.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
So now you have your a daughter too, don't you? Or is it just your son?
I got 2 sons and a daughter.
So you had one of the sons that was about to be born upon.
Yes, my youngest. He would be 31 in September.
So what was that communication with them like during that whole time too?
Well, when I was in the county jail, he'd come visit me and sit in the window and talk to me on the telephone. Mm-hmm. And when he get home, he'd go get in the picture window at the house and talk to me. You know, kind of messed him up, maybe. I think so. But I had a good relationship with my kids. Mm-hmm. It's just when I got to prison, most of the places they sent me was up north.
Yeah.
6-hour ride, maybe. The last one I was at was 10 minutes away from Oregon, Pelican Bay. So that was a 22-hour drive right there.
Pelican Bay, huh? Middle of nowhere.
Literally.
So now you talked about that experience. You said you were doing the computer classes now. Mm-hmm. When did you ever start working on yourself, like mentally or emotionally, like through a group at all? Because I'm sure there was still some like trauma that you had to deal with at one point or something.
Yeah, I went to groups, but I didn't apply them. I didn't apply them. I learned a lot of skills, a lot of techniques, but I wasn't using them. I was using drinking wine, smoking weed to not deal with reality.
So I guess what eventually made you suitable? Not like the probation, like or not a parole board. When did you find yourself suitable?
2017, when I cut all the things that made me comfortable in prison alone.
Gotcha.
You had your mindset at that point, huh?
I told my lady, I said, I'm coming home. I told her I'm coming home. I said, I'm going to Pelican Bay, I'm out of here. I started East Lake Juvenile Hall on a concrete bed with a concrete desk, and I'm finna leave from a concrete bed and concrete desk. And I achieved it. I started applying the things that I learned. I started doing a lot of writing about why I use cell phones in prison.
What was your reasoning for that?
Because it made me feel normal. It made me feel like a person. You had to pick up a phone. How you doing?
How'd you pick up the phone?
Just, pick it up and just.
You know why I asked? Remember, it's because last time I had asked somebody, like, okay, how would you represent, like, symbolize you being on the phone right now? Go ahead.
Oh, no, see, you just grab it and.
Go ahead.
Tablet style, basically.
Yeah.
And then go like this, right?
No, I use headphones.
Okay, well, the reason why is because if you ask like a newer generation, like, you know how you're on the phone, they would do this.
Yeah.
Or some would do this, others would do this. Like it changes. But that was off topic. So you were writing letters about this.
Yes.
Now, were you writing about anything else?
I wrote about everything that I went through, just about. I had to convince the deputy commissioner and the other commissioner and DA that I would be their best neighbor if they give me another chance.
Damn, that's a crazy
That's
perspective.
nuts, huh? And that's because you got sentenced to 36 years to life, meaning there's no determinate number for you, like meaning you finish X amount of years, you're going to get out. Like that's not the case, right?
No.
You had to actually earn your freedom. They had to find you suitable. Yeah. You had to put in the work. Yeah. Damn, walk us through that. What were some of the things that you had to do and that you know is at the top of any lifers or should be at the top of any former lifers list to get out?
It is going back to where you first started thinking that violence was normal. And why you think of it like that. Because as a kid, you see it, and then you get to watching the cartoons, Tom and Jerry, Yosemite Sam, and every time they get pissed off, Yosemite Sam starts shooting his gun, he up in the air, and Tom and Jerry, the cat trying to kill the mouses, you know, if you look at the cartoons, they kind of gear you towards them things. teach you that violence is all right. So I had to go back. And then it goes back to, I guess I was like maybe 4 or 5, where you can started learning some of the wrong things. They tell me, come on, let's ride. I might come back with a neck brace on because I've been in a car accident. They did a fake car accident. We finna get some money. You know, I ain't get much, but they gave me some money though, you know. And it was like a training. It was a training because I had uncles that cooked PCP, and as a teenager, we would go do our thing, you know, and flood the market. We had a lot of hard drugs down there, and we flooded the market with it. And it's actually too much for a teenager to be having money and not knowing what to do with no money.
Right.
You know, not knowing what money is actually for.
Yeah.
You know, so just go buy this, go buy some guns, go to Kmart, go buy some guns out of Kmart. You know, they sold all the guns at Kmart. You had to go get an AK for $600 to $800.
At Kmart?
Yeah.
Is that why they're out of business, probably? Could be. I mean, they're gone now.
Yeah.
They're gone now. Yeah, I remember Kmart. Though I used to sell that Kmart.
Tech 9s, $220, $229 for Tech 9.
That was before California started outlawing all of them.
Yeah.
Now you're okay. So now you start taking, now 2017 comes around. What steps did you take to get ready for the parole board?
Start writing my feelings down.
Your fillers.
My feelings. Start putting my
Your
feelings on paper.
Okay. And then so you start doing that. You start expressing yourself. Now take us to the day that, because did you go to the parole board like a few times? Did you get denied a few times, or
I got denied once. They gave me 5 years.
Denial.
from the 2017? Like that was the first time.
2015.
Okay.
I went to parole board. They gave me 5 years. And I had just got out the hole for a ride at Ironwood. It was like, you didn't think you were going to go to parole board? I said, all I did was protect myself. Nobody said I did nothing to nobody.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't said I done nothing to nobody. Nobody did nothing to me.
Yeah.
I was just in the hole because of my past. You know, I had to file an appeal, get the shoe term kicked out. So they dismissed the DA referral. I ended up going from Ironwood to Lancaster Hole on the way to Hatchby Shoe. But I got the shoe term dismissed. So I went to Lancaster. Instead of putting me on level 3 at Lancaster, they put me on level 4 because I had been in 2 rides at Lancaster on level 3 and the level 4 before. So they said I couldn't go to that level 3 and put me on B yard. Then from there, I ended up at San Quentin.
Old school, huh?
Yeah.
What like if you could describe San Quentin versus Pelican Bay in one word, how would you describe it?
San Quentin is open. It's wide open. Some building has 6 tiers. The building I was in, North Block, it's 5 tiers was the main line. Then the 6th tier was protected custody for death row.
Damn, they have that.
Yeah, they got everything that they had on the main line.
Protected custody for death row. That's pretty interesting. Okay, so now you get denied the first time. Then 2017 comes around. That's when you turn around. So you weren't even emotionally ready when you went to your first parole board. You weren't ready yet until 2017. Now you're ready. You feel like you're ready to go. Now walk us through the day when you went to the second parole hearing.
The biggest thing about that is when I went to the parole board in 2015, I had to argue with the commissioner about telephones. She said, I know you got one. If I send somebody your cell right now, they're going to get it. And they would have got it if she would have sent them. But 3 weeks later, I got called with another cell phone, right after getting denied 5 years for them. Then I put in to go back to the parole board early. They told me no. So I started writing. I started spending my time writing about the things that I've done. the reasons why I thought I did them.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would do different now. I had taken a lot of groups, took a lot of self-help groups. Some of them were like victims, offender education group was a group that showed you that things that you have gone through, you were at one point victimized by somebody by teaching you some things, you know, because they teach you to steal as a kid. Put this in your pocket. You know, you can eat candy in the store as long as you don't go out the door with it. You know, all the little things, you know, so you walk around Safeway just eating candy. I didn't steal it. I didn't leave out the door.
Right.
So,
Man,
so it is.
I get it. That becomes like the basis
Yeah.
of all the stuff, you know.
Yeah, it's a start. Then you start going step by step, earning your way to prison. Because it's not like
Earning your way to prison.
I just did something one day and went to jail. I fought to get to prison.
Right.
Because as a gang member, that's you're either going to get killed in the streets or you're going to go to prison. And that was the making of a good gang member. They write your name on the wall, and then you become a figment of imagination then. Then the cell phone, when the cell phones came in, you learn a lot about your friends because they start scattering their calls. Now you can call them on the cell phone. Hey, man, I need some money. They right there to pick it up. Where you at? They coming right now. So they get to scanning your phone calls. You find out your true friends because they tell you to call on wall phone. So it was, I got to Pelican Bay, and they had some groups. They had the victim education group. I took a substance use disorder treatment class, and they were saying that, well, what are one of your addictions? I told them violence was an addiction. And the man told me, no, it's not. So I tell him that, have you ever committed violence on somebody? Do you feel the rush you get? So the next time you do it, you're going to add to it, add to it, add to it. And then it's like in life, I was born as Jesse. Then I took on the handle clown. And then my alter ego ended up consuming me, sending me to prison. So I had to find my way back to being Jesse again. And that's how I ended up getting out of jail. 'Cause I know what I did wrong. If I would have thought, I wouldn't have run down the street and got shot. If I would have used my thinking, I wouldn't went to the Wilshire district and went to jail for robbery. If I would have thought, I wouldn't have went out that side that night and went to jail for murder charge. If I would have thought, I would have left the dope at home instead of going to school to sell it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just reacting. Reacting in life is not how it's supposed to go. And we learned that playing Pop Warner football and basketball. You know, somebody foul you, let the ref do his job. Because you rack and you nudge them back, you get the foul. And it's the same thing in life. You know, if you think, you say, this is the outcome. This is what I'm finna do. And this is going to happen afterwards. So now it's about doing something that I don't have to hide.
So now you don't necessarily get released though. You go through do you go through an MCRP program from there or?
No, I went to a transitional house.
Okay, so now you're going through a transitional house. So what was that like for you? Now you're kind of like back into somewhat reality in a way, right?
Yeah. If it wasn't for family and friends though, it'd been real messed up because most of the transition homes don't actually give you anything. You know, you're there, you can do what you want to do from 6 to 10. The day is yours.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a pickup from the gate?
Yes, ARC flew me home.
Got you. Shout out to ARC.
Yeah, they flew me
Great
home.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, they got me through TSA with no ID.
Crazy.
You know, I don't know how they did it.
I didn't even think about that. They really could do something. They have to do stuff like that.
Yeah, they did that. And I just been focusing now. I have been a co-chair on Returning Citizens Association.
Nice.
So,
Can you tell us a little bit, real quick, about what that is in a quick glance?
the Returning Citizens Association is a non-clinical mental health peer support group. And what we do is we go on a Zoom call and we find out how our people are doing. They're fresh out. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to go get a job. They don't know where to go to a better transition home because they put a lot of them downtown on Skid Row. Mm-hmm. So you can contact people to get them moved, you know, to a safe environment. Because you can't take somebody that just did 25, 30 years and put them in the wine guard. Because not only is that person trying to figure out how to live out here, now he has to fight all his addictions right at the front doorstep.
Yeah.
You know?
That's cold. Right at the wine guard, first day out, huh?
Yeah.
I'm assuming that has to be a very lackluster first day out to be like just waking up to some shit like that. Where you're
Step out the door, you on Skid Row, you know, they sleeping on the ground, you know. Mm-hmm. But I have been doing peer support.
How helpful do you think that is?
It's really helpful. It helps me because some of the things that I went through, I don't want the other person to have to go through. Mm-hmm. You know, it's about trying to create a pathway for the next person. And it's not just about the people in prison because it seems like it's more people out here that need it in the free world. You know?
No, I 100% agree. Yeah. You know, a dude that did 35, 40 years, his mom probably died, family died, dad died, you know what I mean? How do they reintegrate back into society? I've worked with a lot of those men, and luckily, for the most part, everyone I've worked with has had someone to help. An older sister left, you know, something mm-hmm. where we're able to get them on their feet, and then family's able to just chime in and give them those words that they need of encouragement. But I have met, you know, one or two dudes where it was like 70 years old. They did 42, 43 years, you know, mm-hmm. and they ain't got nobody out here to give them a call. So they're definitely, I'm glad that a support system is at least a start to addressing some of those issues.
Yeah, it's about just being there. Sometimes people just need to talk.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily want a response. They just want to understand the ear. Mm. You know, because they might be going through something. I know I've been going through things.
Well, what are some of the things you go through not having been out here for 30 years?
I don't know the streets of L.A. no more.
Oh, man.
I go into the stores and I come out, I looked up, I was on Fairfax. I was coming back to the east side.
Fairfax is way different now, huh?
Yeah, I was going the wrong way. When I seen Fairfax, I knew I was going the wrong way. This is about 2 months ago. You know, finances, there's a lot of financial problems, you know. I want a nice car. I want a nice apartment. So I got to give me a nice job.
Right.
But I understand it now, though, so I can do what I need to do now so I can do what I want to do later. Mm-hmm. Yeah, now you put a little something up here, you put it up there, and one day you better go take care of it. But it's about not putting yourself in harm's way because can't nobody put you nowhere you don't want to be, you know. And it's about, people say that it was spontaneous, it was instant, you know. But criminality is not instant because before I go sell some dope, I gotta get some money. So he's like, I gotta go steal the money, go rob somebody for it, so I can learn how to sell dope. If I was gonna do armed robbery, I had to go figure out how to get me a gun.
You had to put in the work in all scenarios.
Yeah, I gotta figure out how to get that gun first. So it can't be instant because you actually been thinking it out, you know, for this amount of time, you know. So it is not, you know, people say it just happened. Don't that just happen? You know, lightning hit you, that just happened. But when you go out there and you choose to go do something, it doesn't just happen. It can't just happen.
No, I mess with that. I mess with that. Man, I'm just thinking like, what about electronics? So I'm picturing you an electronic dude. So you didn't have no trouble with the phone and the computer because you did the computer stuff in there, you know?
Yeah.
That seems to be one of the biggest hurdles.
Technology.
Technology.
And I proposed to the dudes in RCA to get the kids to come in and mentor the people coming home.
That's huge, man. Huge. The flip side of adult. This is a situation where kids know way more than the adult in this situation, and can easily be like, you press this, you turn it on here. That's huge. That's the first time I heard of something like that.
Yeah, that's something that would work.
I like that. Like even nowadays, actually no, I'm not even gonna say that. But I think what's great is that you're able to come out here and still provide your experience to the youth or young adults, like everybody you're working with. Like I said from the start, in the beginning of this podcast, like your work that you're doing now, especially, like you're even to us, like you providing us this knowledge, like we know how to go about things in the future, especially working with young adults, or even adults in this case. What kind of words would you say to someone who is in between that struggle right now, where they're trying to stay away from all this, but they're right on the edge? Like, what kind of words would you tell them right now?
What kind of words would I tell them? I'll tell them think. I would tell them think. Think. Because when you're not thinking, you react. You react. When you react, you're wrong. If you have to ask somebody, did I do it right? You shouldn't have to ask that person, because when you do it right, you do something right, people see you, they're going to tell you, I seen what you did the other day. That was good. So it's about, basically, it boils down to not putting unwanted expectation on others, because you always set yourself up for failure. Mm-hmm. How could you know what I expect from you if I never told you? So that's why we out there in criminality, people end up turning state on you because you put that expectation on him that he's just like me.
Yeah.
He's solid. But he don't know that, he's supposed to stay solid because he wants to go home. Mm-hmm. And he's ready to do anything he can to go home.
Right.
But, I learned you can't fault that person because it takes a big man to do that.
Right.
It takes a big man, Here it is. You turn state, now everybody want to get you. That's a lot of heart there. That's
100%.
That's a lot of heart,
Yeah, I like the philosophy though. I use that every day in my everyday life, man. I tell people, if you know somebody's a gossiper and you tell them something, I tell them you could be cool, but knowing that they're gossiping and you told them something, that's not their fault. You know their characteristics. Mm-hmm. That's on you. Yeah. You could be cool with a person and just know that boundary, right? Because again, you can't put your expectations or your morals and how you expect them to behave on somebody else, because it's not going to work out. They're going to let you down, Yes. They're going to let you down, man. So 30 years, I love the fact that I've seen you talk to some of our youngsters here, and they're receptive to you, man, and it's powerful. That's why I told Brian, we were all chopping it up, and we're like, we got to have Jesse in here, tell this story. And I would love to if there's anything that you would want to part ways with, to just however, follow you, social media, anything you want to throw out there, this is a good time for it.
My daughter has a clothing line called Rolls Out the Mud.
There you go.
Fire. I vouch for it. I looked it up the other day. I'm already, I told Jesse I'm eyeballing some things. Solid clothing brand, my boy. They're really doing it. You guys are got something going on there.
Yeah, we produce it right at the house.
Nice.
Right in the living room.
Screen presses, everything.
Yeah, we cut.
I don't even know the terminology, bro.
We cut it, run it through the computer. We cut it. We press it. She bags it up and takes it and sells it. I do the work.
Yeah.
She makes the money off of it.
That's good. That's
Good.
good.
That's a team. You got a team. You
Right.
got something going.
I think with that being
Yeah,
said,
no,
man, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate you guys for watching. And Reentry Network Podcast, we're out, man.
Let's get it, baby.